Well, the Great Migration speaks to the time when African American families were basically concentrated in the southern part of the United States, and they moved. Migrate means to move, and they moved from the south, primarily moving north. Some of them got as far as Kentucky, some of them got as far as Ohio, Indiana, some of them got all the way to Canada. I was growing up during the 50s, the 60s, and I was not part of what they consider the Great Migration, but my family and my parents' families were. I remember my father was from Athens, Alabama, and he left Athens looking for work, and he ended up in Kentucky. And from Kentucky, he ended up getting a job that landed him here in Cincinnati, where he met my mother. And I guess what they say, the rest is history. So he really was a part of the Great Migration, moving from what was going on in the South, trying to either escape it. There are many reasons as people left the South and ended up in the North. Daddy was just looking for work. Some people were in the South, and it was a lot of discrimination in the South, a lot of segregation in the South, and people were trying to escape that. The Jim Crow laws, those things were oppressive, and so people were looking for ways to get from up under that, and that's one of the reasons they began to move north. Well, the African diaspora really refers to those places in which African people found themselves after the Holocaust of enslavement. So once we were part of that Middle Passage and ended up in different places away from Africa, the diaspora includes those places where we ended up. We ended up in Brazil. We ended up in South America. We ended up in some of the Caribbean countries, and I don't like to use that term, but we ended up in those areas. We ended up in the United States. We ended up in England. We ended up in a lot of different places, Nova Scotia. And those places become the African diaspora, the places where African people found themselves after being displaced from Africa.